Right now, I personally, obviously, I'm R&Ding a lot of things, but I have about 50 virtual assistants with me, testing out different things, right?
Wait. You personally have 50 virtual assistants?
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes,
goodness.
yes, yes,
You
yes.
definitely went over the elevator. I love it.
Yeah, it's a luxury, right? I want to live
Yeah.
like a millionaire, like you, right? I am a millionaire. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but I'm not used to bragging myself. All right, hi everyone. My name is Phyllis. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Unleashed.
Hello again. I am your host, Edward Collins. If this is the first time you're joining us, you are in for a treat. Today in our studio, we're joined by Phyllis Song. She is known as the queen of virtual assistants. And if you are an entrepreneur, if you're building a business, one of the key factors is this concept of leverage. How can you take whatever effort and energy that you're putting into something and magnify that, multiply it? One amazing way to do that is through the assistance of other human beings. And Phyllis is an expert in making that happen. I'm so excited that you're joining me here today in the studio. Before we jump, Phyllis, into all of the stuff that that led you up to be in the studio today and all that sort of thing,
Yes.
I want to make sure that the audience knows at least a little bit about what you're doing today and where you're going. So fill us in a little bit on what the current state of your business is so that they have some context.
Yeah. My current state of my business, right now I'm running a virtual assistant agency. I really are really passionate about helping people gain their time and freedom back. I know that mom guilt, dad guilt is for real.
Yes.
But at the same time, as an overachiever, we just wanted to do so much more. Like how much more can I go? How much more can I go? And I'm kind of greedy. I want the cake and I want to eat it too while I'm losing weight. So that's my passion. I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can we really maximize it all? And I've come to find out that virtual assistant is the way. And right now I have helped more than 1,000 business owners, like literally, integrate virtual assistant into their team or just with them individually so that, they can really like do it all without doing it all. And, and still be able to spend time with themselves or with their family.
One of the things that I find pretty interesting, at least about my community, is I tend to resonate with business owners who are family members, right?
Yes.
They have
Me
their
too.
husband, wife, they have children. You had mentioned a phrase both before we started today and also as we were just talking, mom guilt and dad guilt.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to dive a little bit deeper into that. But like even outside the context of what you're doing now,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about maybe how that concept influenced where you are today.
Yeah, so the truth is, growing up, I do not have my mom or my dad.
Okay.
And I don't know like what that was. After multiple, therapy session, right? I realized that, wow, kids actually put guilt and shame and the mistake on themselves. Like, oh, it's because of me. That's why mom and dad is busy. Because of me, that's why mom and dad is, whatever. That's why they're not present. So I grew up with a lot of like not enough and not love. Right, just like, man, God, why just me alone? How come mom and dad's never be with me, compared to everybody else? So when I was, become a business owner, I was like, man, the main reason why I become a business owner is so that I don't do that to my children, right? And then obviously we all get into the grunt, right? Like, okay, being a business owner, you got to be responsible for your clients and all that stuff. And one day my kids come into my room and say, Mommy, can I play with you? I'm sorry, babe, I don't have the time. And it was like, oh, I become them.
Yeah.
And my kids was me. And I was like, wait, hold on, stop. Like, I cannot do this. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm running my business for, right? And that just kind of like created this, this whole mission that I'm doing, this movement that I'm doing. It's like, no, like we shouldn't have this mom and dad guilt, right? But again, we shouldn't also sacrifice our life and be a stay-at-home mom just because I want to be a mother.
Okay.
Right. And that's really how it really come from, because I felt it, because, I was a lone child, growing up alone. And then, so then when I become a mother, I was like, man, I'm just so guilty. Like I'm leaving my kids again. And I was like, okay, that's enough. Like enough is enough. I'm going to put a stop on it. And that's not going to affect me. But at the same time, I still want my business. So how can I make that happen? Virtual assistants. So that was how the virtual assistant come into play.
Well, I know that a lot of entrepreneurs can relate, right? So
Yeah.
you're working hard to build a business. You're trying to do everything that
Yeah.
pretty much, because again, most business owners really aren't business owners, right? They're job owners.
Absolutely.
And they own tons of jobs,
Yep.
right? They're
Very
wearing
expensive
18 hats.
jobs.
Yeah, very
Yep.
expensive jobs. Now, let's talk a little bit about like how you even got started in business itself. Like not necessarily the virtual assistant business, but just like the concept of entrepreneurism. Tell me a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college, I'm just such an overachiever, right? I wanted to perfect every position that I have. And then, it usually take me like a week, maybe a month to perfect a job. And then at the end, I'm just like, I'm bored. What else, right? And I'm bored. What else? And then I realized, wow, I don't really like to follow what everybody else is doing. Like there's something off about me, And then I was like, okay, maybe I could start a business. But at that time, again, I'm a kind of like an immigrant. I come from Malaysia. My English is really bad, not like where I am today. I don't know, smart or stupid, but I decided to go get a job door to door, knocking on doors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and at that time, they have an entrepreneur, like a management trainee systems, right? Where if you go door knock, you can build a team, and then you can become an entrepreneur. And that's how, entrepreneurship kind of get introduced to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had a very similar scenario happen, but I was young. Like I started selling newspaper subscriptions door to door when I was 13.
Wow.
Right? So the whole door to door sales environment is a trial by fire for sure.
Yeah.
That door knocking experience for you, I'm kind of curious, like how do you think that shaped your ability to deal with things like rejection and sales in general?
Yeah, I mean, again, didn't know what I was getting myself into. I remember my first month, I got a 0. Like I was crying and I was like, I thought I could do this. And I was a loser, right? I can't do this all. But I'm not a quitter. And I also realized I'm not a quitter. So I need to finish this. I need to finish this and get to the bright side. So then, by the resilience that I have, I started to practice, and it was great. Like from 0 sales to, at the end, like I just, we ring a gong every time you do like a certain amount of money.
Okay.
And I remember every day I just ring the gong, right? And it's like, yeah, I got it. And it really allowed me to master everything. Again, like you said, rejection, how to read people, how to take names down to Jones other people to make sure that they can trust you within like the first 5 minutes, right? Also disengage, like, hey, they're not a good customer. They are not interested. They just want to chat with you because they're bored, right? And you just want to walk away, right? And I think it just really helped me with like really master my communication skills. And, and that really become the foundation of where I am today. Yeah.
What did you do after the door knocking?
So it's funny. So I actually met my husband at the door-to-door sale.
Okay.
So then we started to represent AT&T Uverse.
Oh.
So we actually helped them, run the Uverse department for a portion of it in Florida, and then we got introduced to in California. And then that's about 2008, the real estate crisis.
Yes.
And then we got approached for another opportunity to go sell for an alarm company in Texas. That's how we landed in Texas.
Oh, okay. That's how you made it there.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then at the time, we're still a sales company. We're just direct sales. We don't do anything on the back end. And afterwards, we grow into a full service, right? We do installation, become a real dealer for ADT. And then afterwards, like, was selling to all these new homeowners. Like, hey, maybe there's more money involved in that part, right? And my husband's really good in sales. And at that time, I'm doing the back end support now. Then we got into become a real estate investor. I become a realtor. My first year, I did $357,000 in first year.
Your first year?
Yeah, with a virtual assistant.
That's huge.
Yeah. I didn't know that was huge. I just thought that's normal for everybody.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely, there are a lot of realtors who may be watching this. Like, I wish that was normal for everyone.
I thought it was normal, and then I was like, oh, this is not normal. Like, guys, this is not normal. And then afterwards we got into get to know Russell, and then it just by coincidence I was in the Tony Robbins world, and people was like, everybody should hire a virtual assistant in the business mastery. You need to optimize your business. If you have a assistant, local assistant, you need to hire a virtual assistant. And everybody's like, what is virtual assistant? And I was like, well, let me tell you how I do it. Like for my 10, 12 years, how I got to my number one in Keller Williams, right, as a rookie, using virtual assistants. And then all of a sudden, everybody just started to come to me. Phyllis, you need to help me hire a virtual assistant. Phyllis, you need to help me hire a virtual assistant. I was like, oh, okay. And then I just started it. No website.
Biz up. I love it.
Yeah, just no website, not even an email, not even a setup. And then I just talked to people. I was like, yeah, just send me. And then my business until today is still about 90% referrals.
Wow.
And people just refer and refer and refer, and yeah.
Well, I think some entrepreneurs, even though the concept of virtual assistants is being definitely been promoted a lot over the
Yes,
course of the past
yes.
5 to 10 years,
Yes.
there are still a lot of business owners that really don't understand it.
Yep.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. Like, what would if you were trying to define virtual assistants to someone who has no clue, like how would you let them in on this concept?
Yeah, so for me, in my own term, right, they are like my angels or my magicians, sometimes my therapist virtually, which I like because I love to travel a lot. So all I need to do now is, as long as you have internet, computer, or just a cell phone, you can get your VA to do everything for you.
Okay.
Right? So they are technically like your physical assistant, but virtually.
Okay.
And they can do everything that, as long as, a computer can do. Sometimes you're like, oh, I get my physical assistant to buy me a Starbucks. They can do that too now using Uber.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Just a lot of, leverage, and I just love it. And right now, I personally, obviously, I'm R&Ding a lot of things, but I have about 50 virtual assistants with me, testing out different things, right?
Wait. You personally have 50 virtual assistants?
Yes.
Oh my
yes,
goodness.
Yes.
You definitely went over the hill. I love it.
Yeah. It's a luxury, right? I want to live like a millionaire, like you, right? I am a millionaire. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but I'm not used to bragging myself.
You should. I mean, so that I do want to touch on that for a second. There are a lot of people who are very closed with regard to showcasing their success.
Yeah.
You have achieved major success.
Yes.
And
thank you.
the reality is sometimes other people need to see that in order to be inspired to achieve their own.
Yes.
Right?
You're
So
right.
you shouldn't be ashamed of it. You've done remarkable things, which is why you're even in the studio today. I mean, we got to know each other because you were able to be in the right rooms with the right people, and that doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah. I'm, like I said, I'm really like proud. I think God really blessed me really well, right? If you want me to brag, right, in the 3 years that I've been running virtual assistant without knowing a lot of things, like not really as cool as like the ads and all that stuff, I have done about $7 million so far,
Right.
on revenue. Yeah.
Like I said, that's so think about it. The vast majority of humans will never make it to 7 figures ever in the entirety of their life.
Yeah.
You have been able to do that in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And it's because, 1, you had the right opportunity.
Yep.
2, you were prepared to take advantage of the opportunity because you set your mindset the right way to be able to see it and seize it.
Yeah.
And you were a doer. You made it happen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
God blesses those who position themselves to be blessed.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
now, when you look at the journey of like a typical entrepreneur's experience with a virtual assistant, like what does that look like? Because I know you help a lot of entrepreneurs, but how did you get into this concept of having a virtual assistant in the first place for yourself?
Well, it's all thanks to my husband.
Okay.
Because I was the gopher, right? Honey, do this. Honey, do that. Honey, do this. Honey, do that. And I was like, I don't want to do all these things because I started to lost me in the mix, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have the time to work with my, play with my kids. And then I was like, well, if there's a will, there's a way, right? And at the same time, local employees is pretty expensive. Not just that, there's a lot of regulation, benefits. There's just a lot of stuff that come along with the local employees that I just don't really enjoy or like.
Okay.
And then at the end, again, God has a way. One day I lost my credit card. And I called the credit card company, giving them my social security number, right? And I was like, wait, like, you're not from United States. Like, for sure you're not from here. Oh, yeah, and then I just, do what I do best with sales, right? Hey,
Conversation.
And, conversation. But just tell me, like, where are you at? Oh, I'm in Philippines. Or I'm in India. I was like, oh, really? You were there and you were answering my calls, right? And I was like, well, if the big company can do that and they are asking me for my sensitive information, like my social security number, if they can do it, I can do it too, right? And I can do it for a fraction of a cost. And then I started to search it, and then that's like, bam, there you go. And then because I'm also like Asian, so it was so much easier for me, like culture-wise, it was such a culture fit. And my mom actually owned a maid agency, a domestic helper agency in Singapore without me connecting the dot afterwards. So I'm really used to like their culture, like how to communicate with them, how to coach them, because I see my mom coaching them since I was young without noticing it myself.
Right.
And then afterwards, Yeah, and then I just start to utilize them. Again, there's a lot of trial and errors. There's no doubt about it, right? I bet I've been through maybe 1,000 of them by myself, right? But it's just really quick, testing, what can they do? What can they not do? What did they surprise me about? But as an entrepreneur that just start up, I would say, to be honest with you, just I always say every morning wake up, just brain dump everything to them. I need to pick up my kids. I need to do this podcast. I need to do this webinar. I need to pay the bills. I need to just dump everything so that they can put them all on on your database or a spreadsheet. And then afterwards, you ask them, what can you do for me? Can you remove some of these pieces for me? And you'd be surprised. Oh, boss, I can pay your bills. Hey, boss, I can order this food for your mom. Boss, I can play with your kids when you are doing a meeting, right? And then you're like, oh, okay, then whatever else left is what I need to do. Or can I delegate down to another person, or maybe to the wife, or hey, tell my husband to do this, right? So that way they will be eliminate from my thing. And I think that's just a good start, and then you'll start to practice it, and then you're like, oh, okay, now you will notice, okay, this is a big chunk that I can totally give it to them and they're feeling good about it. And then these are the chunk that I enjoy doing and I'm going to continue doing it.
Wow. Yeah. When you look at the typical entrepreneur now who selects a virtual assistant, do you notice any unifying characteristics or things that are generally similar?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that most entrepreneur, if you know this personality profile type, entrepreneur usually are DI. They're all very, dominant. They want to get things done. They have big picture, right? And they're good with people. And usually they're really weak on organizations, being forgetful, overcommit. Wait.
You've been talking to my team. I totally get that.
Yeah. So then what we usually do is we'll hire them the complete opposite.
Okay.
Right? The opposite to complete you. What I would talk about is, do you want to look for somebody that enhance you, which is similar to you, or somebody who complete you, that whole you, make sure that you're whole, right?
Yes.
So usually the first one advice is always hire the one that completes you, but the personality usually is the opposite of you. But so sometimes the integration was not good. Hey, this is so amazing. Like, I'm going to a podcast. Okay, boss. They're like, come on, where's the excitement? I have no excitement because I'm a C and an S. I'm excited. This is my exciting phase. I'm excited in the inside. So then I have to kind of like coaching them about, okay, this is what you're looking for. You're not looking for somebody that is like you, that enhance your quality. You're looking for somebody that's opposite of you, that get you organized. And but usually the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs usually do is they hire somebody that exactly like that, right? Because it's like, oh, podcast is amazing. Oh, yeah, this is amazing. Did you get that done? No, boss, because I'm excited with you.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, who cares about
We're
this stuff?
high-fiving.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we're good with each other,
Okay. When you look at the measure of success for an entrepreneur and his or her team of virtual assistants, let's say, what are some common things you note that lead to success for an entrepreneur considering a virtual assistant?
Yeah, I think the very first one, especially when they are first startup as an entrepreneur, is transparency.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we are such a, in our society now, most of us are people pleaser. So when they first work with an entrepreneur, usually when they fail, it's because they don't tell them the truth. Like, hey, I really want this thing this way, right? I really need this by this time. I'm stressed out right now because you're not telling me certain things. But usually they just don't say, oh, that's fine. Oh, that's okay. And back inside their head is like, oh, this is not working out. And then they just build and not communicate it out. And then it's like, you know what? This is not working out. I'm just going to do it all by myself.
Right.
And then, but the truth is, it was just, hey, they're your VA. They're not your client. You can tell them exactly what you want. And they prefer that because they have no clue. They're like, I don't know. My boss is really mad at me.
Right.
But I have no clue, why? Yeah. Because she said everything's okay. Right? And so then usually I have to break down that barrier at the very beginning.
Okay.
And then the second thing is SOP. Virtual assistant usually come from the background is they work in a big company like AT&T, right?
Okay.
And then they have a manual and they say, here's the manual, work the same thing for the next 8 hours. Don't ask me any question. All the questions in that book. Because it's been running for 20 years, right? Yeah. But with us, it's like, hello, I don't have an SOP. I am the SOP. Ask me whatever. And after you put it on the SOP, in 2 hours, I might change the SOP.
Yes, you know a lot of entrepreneurs. It's literally how we do it.
Yeah, and most likely I will forget to tell you about it, but I expect you to read my mind. Am I right? And then at the end, it's like, okay, it didn't work out because how come you didn't do what I want you to do? Well, I didn't know. And then that's usually another piece that like, okay, let's make sure that we put on SOP, make sure we clarify, yesterday you say this, today, is it still the same? Like for me, I go to, and if a mastermind, on Monday, today when I come, I was like, I have 50 more things for you to do. This thing we need to change, that thing we need to change. Boss, we just updated last week. I know, but this is the new and best thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So adaptability is important. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, I get it. How do you identify what a good VA would be? Like, how do you identify that person?
We have a couple metrics on it.
Okay.
Number one, I do believe grit is very important. So we usually will ask them like, hey, what's the toughest thing you have done in life? Right? Looking for a job, most likely this is not a good candidate for you, right? But if they say, well, I have survived through, cancer, I was the breadwinner of the family. I have to support like 10 other brothers and sisters.
Oh, wow.
You know that those are the people that will show up because they're used to tough things. Right. Number two is growth mindset. Are you okay with growing? Hey, I know I don't know, right? But I'm going to go figure it out, right? I'll go find the answer for you, right? I think that will be, usually the second one. The third one that usually we have to train them into it is positivity. So after we find the right one, then we have to train them into positivity and proactivity because they're not used to being positive. Because in an Asian culture, usually it's like, what didn't you do? Why you suck? Why it's all about negativity. That's not really building it up. And we're also being trained on not asking any questions. Asking questions is rude. Asking questions is going to cost you a job. So then we have to train them on.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
In fact, preferred.
Yeah. Right now, I even bonus them. Like, if you raise your hand on our group call, I'll give you $10, $20, $30. Now, like, oh my gosh, like, really? Like, I raised my hand, you pay me more money? I'll say, yeah, that is how it works here.
Right.
When you're working with in people in United States, when you're working with entrepreneur, we want you to tell us. We want you to, ask you shall receive, right? If you ask us, we'll tell you because we don't read your mind. And we usually do not care about you, right? I mean, being blunt and all, because we care about our client, right? And you need to take care of us. Tell us what you need, how do you want to be served, and it will serve you. And throughout my training, that's where I open up their mind, like, hey, this is the new world. And because they have growth mindset, so they will learn, and at the end, we'll integrate them really well.
One of the things I'm so inspired by you about is that you've taken like everything else you've learned outside of this, and you've brought it into it in order to enhance those that you serve in multiple dimensions. So again, I'm in awe of what you do because I think it's amazing. Like as an example, you've been immersed into both like the Russell Brunson type of ecosystem. You've been immersed into the Tony Robbins ecosystem, and you've like gathered a great deal of knowledge from those two universes plus others, right?
Yep.
What I think is so remarkable is that you actually take that knowledge and you serve those who are serving others, right? You bring it to your team of VAs and you help them level up to make them more well-rounded humans, more versatile, better mindset, right?
Yes.
How did you think about doing that? Like what inspired you to want to help others in that type of way? Because that's not a direct correlation to necessarily revenue generation for you.
No,
but it definitely helps.
Yeah.
So how did you think about that? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately it's a passion, I think, because of like how I grew up. I'm from Malaysia, but I can really relate really well with the Filipinos, and a lot of their grow up is without parents. And they feel like they're not enough and not loved through that process. And when I started my VA business, people ask me, like, what works for you? How come your VA stay with you such a long time? How come they're so loyal to you? They will work like overtime and make sure that things are done and, and make me first. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh, because I love to train them and give them more information, education, because I want them to be like me, genuinely. Like I want them to be like me. I want them to feel seen, feel loved, feel wanted. And then in return, they become confident, right? And because I help them open up so much of the things that they don't know, right? Because again, they work for like a customer service office. They're not like us, they're not immersed in events, so they don't know what they don't know. So by me like educating them, open up their heart, it was like a byproduct of them coming back and and serve me so much more. And I also realized like as entrepreneur, we're so busy with our clients. We're also very busy with events and learning. But a lot of time we fail to come back and say, hey, this is what I learned.
Right.
Right? Hey, this is what I learned. So then the gap between it is like, it's usually will be like this, because you're learning, they're not learning. You're not sharing what you learned with them. Only the to-dos.
Yes.
Right? Only the to-dos. And eventually it's like this. And then you're like, okay, it doesn't work out. It's not working out anymore. So then, so what I do is because of my personal reason, right, I started to educate them. So they are constantly growing together with me. Like we just literally learned RPM from Tony Robbins. And then we immediately like train them on how to use RPM.
What do you mean RPM?
It's called Result, Purpose, Massive Action Plan from Tony. It's a big thing on how do you execute fast? How do you, when you have a meeting, how do you be more result oriented? How do you come up with the ideas and the thoughts, and the power of languages. But as soon as I learn, I just have the habit, like immediately I wanted to, get everybody have it because I'm excited about this. But in order for me to bring my company to the next level, they need to know that too.
Right. And then they could go out and take that to those entrepreneurs that they're individually serving.
Yes. Wow. So I insert a lot more on the VA because again, entrepreneur, you're busy. You're busy with your client. Most likely you usually don't come into my course and learn the thing that I learned, right? Yeah. But if I can really consistently immerse and teaching your VAs, then they can kind of, go kind of not proportionate, but at least they're growing, so they're not too far away from you per se.
Okay. Let's shift a little bit because I do think it's important. Again, we're talking about family-owned business here because you're a wife, you're a mother.
Yeah.
How do you coordinate your priorities? Like around like where you spend your time, where you spend your focus, like help me to better understand that a little bit.
Well, I used to only prioritize business, right?
Okay.
Nothing else because I want to be successful so bad. I want people to see me so bad. And 10 years ago, my mother got breast cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, third stage. And we really thought that's like the end. And then the doctors say she can live about 3 to 5 years max.
Okay.
But she's still here, so it's amazing.
Yes.
But during that time, I make a decision. I was like, I'm not going to prioritize business over my personal life, right? And I'm not going to let my kids feel the same way. So then I literally just push family up. So now, if I'm allowed to brag, I go to Asia about 2 times a year, each time about 6 weeks. So it's about 3 to 4 months off. And then every month now, I usually take about a week to go learn something new so that I can, connect the dots more. So I barely really work, but I have built a system, right? I saw you have the book, the 4-Hour Work Week,
Yes,
E-Myth, EOS, how to do it the right way, Tony Robbins Business Mastery, right? Russell Brunson. So I built a really good solid foundation.
Traction, all of those.
Yeah, all that stuff. So, the goal is, if I don't have to grow my business anymore, I don't have to work anymore. But obviously, again, I like to grow, right?
Yeah.
So I would always insert, new things, into my business.
Yeah, the way I look at it, there's only 2 states of being. There's a state of progress and a state of decay.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, fulfillment comes when I'm in that state of progress.
Yep.
And I get really unfulfilled when I'm in a state of decay. So I totally can get that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, though, do struggle with the concept of figuring out how to. Well, let me step back. I don't believe in the concept of balance, like work-life balance. I don't believe in that. I believe in the concept of harmony. I think if you are all in where you are in that moment, and you express yourself that way, like when I'm with my family, I'm all in with my family. When I'm at work, I'm all in at work. When I'm helping those that I serve, I'm all in there, right? So I call that harmony, like life harmony. A lot of people though struggle because they believe it has to be balanced, and the word balance, oftentimes people think even. How do you help those that you serve like not get caught in that belief system?
Yeah, I love that. When my student come into my course, I always will do a couple exercise for them, right? The very first one is, if you are at your funeral, what will you be regretting, right? What is something that you'll regret, right? Is it regretting making 10 millions, or regretting that your kids is like, I never see my mom and dad, or man, I have never get a chance to travel, right? What would that be like? And then we'll tell them to rank it down, and then if those are the 5, right, rank it accordingly, then that's how you should spend your time in, and like what Tony said, it's work-life integration, right? So I bring my kids to pretty much everything that I do, unless my husband is like, hey, I need some date time, no kids time. All right, fine, baby, I'm going to keep my kids at home, right? And And that's what I do. I mean, I bet, we meet at so many different events.
Yeah.
I have my kids. And the truth is, I have my VAs monitor my kids in the hotel room doing homework.
I love that.
And homeschool. Yeah, while I'm doing my thing.
Wait a minute. So you have your VAs do homeschooling with your kids? I love that. That's amazing.
I'm
going to have to talk to my wife.
Virtual assistants.
Yes.
Yeah, and they give us like every hour, what are they doing? Their state of mind, right? What their curiosity questions. It works for me, because I go to Asia too. I used to have a physical teacher, but when I go to Asia, they have to pause their school.
It's hard, yeah.
Right, and so now we have full-time, executive assistant for them. One of my sons want to have a YouTube channel, so I say no problem, go do it. Here is the VA cutting the video, uploading. Just talk to them, and he did about I think like 200 videos, for himself without me spending
your son, the one I met,
Alexander,
He's done 200 videos?
Yeah,
Oh
he was
goodness.
consistent. And I just love it. I mean, without skills and whatever, just the consistency. And they were like, Mom, I'm doing recording right now. Can you leave, please? I was like, okay, babe, I got you.
I love it. I love it. When you look at where you are now, right? Because like your main focus is the VA business from a business standpoint at this point. What do you see as the biggest roadblocks right now for you? Like what is holding you back from where you want to go?
I think that's a really good question. I think if you asked me this question a year ago, it's definitely the self-belief, like, can I do this, right? Can I really deliver this to so many people? Because my target audience is really like, most of them are millionaires in the circle that I'm in, right? So at the beginning, I was like, oh man, I keep feeling that I'm going to screw it up. Right. And now I think is, like you said, the integration, like the work-life harmony, like how much time do I want to give away, right, to get that in return? And I think those are kind of like the roadblocks. And other than that, I'm just having fun, like, talking to people, and then people are always surprised, like, really, like you use VA in that way? I was like, yeah, absolutely. My VA even write a love letter post on Facebook without notifying me. So my husband came over, it's like, my babe, I love you. Oh. And I was like, oh, I love you too.
Why?
And I was like, what happened? And I checked. I was like, oh yeah, that's great job, VA.
Good job.
You did an amazing job.
I love it. I love it. When you look at the next steps for you, what are the next steps? Like, what are you trying to get to?
I definitely want to do, impact more people, because by me helping more business owners, more children will have their family, their mom and dad with them. And at the same time, because you're hiring virtual assistants, so then they will work from home, make good money, and be able to raise that child at the same time. So it's like a dual thing. And, I have a pretty big dream, right? Because I'm hanging out with other big people. So I would love to, really get to like $100 million in 10 years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very doable based on the way your business is structured. Like,
I'm
very, very doable.
Lowballing it, but yeah.
Yeah. When you look at that next step, then obviously that's where you want to get to. But what is the next step that has to be taken in order for you to get there? Have you identified that yet for yourself?
I just need to be more vocal.
More vocal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just what do you mean by that? Help me better understand that.
Because like I feel like I'm very humble, right? So I don't really talk about my success a lot.
Yeah.
And I realize that without me telling about my success or market about myself, people doesn't know me. If people doesn't know me, they won't be able to come to me. So I have to really increase like my social media presence, right? Like telling people what I really do, to tell them about this movement, so that they will come to me. I think that was because I'm so used to, again, the Asian culture, like so used to like, don't tell people about your success, don't tell people what you do. Thank God I have a lot of raving fans, so they're like, hey, go to Phyllis. And I was like, I don't know how they do it, but I mean, every week when we come in, the calendar is always full. So I was like, okay, maybe I don't have to do it, but if I really want to get aggressive, which I know I need to, that's what my next step will be. Like, get on stages, speak, give people the idea of, using virtual assistant and not sacrifice themselves.
Yeah, the way I've heard it phrased, at least, and I'm going to butcher the actual phrase, it's something like, the best is never going to beat the best known.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So getting up on top of the mountain and screaming at the top of your lungs as to who you are and what you do makes it possible for those who actually need what you do to learn that you have the ability to offer that.
Yeah.
when it comes to marketing, like what are you doing now for marketing? Like as a business owner, like what are your thought processes with regard to marketing?
Yeah, so obviously I've been in the Russell Brunson world for a while, right? So I'm obviously learning about, how do you do webinar, how do you do Facebook ads and all that. But what I'm really passionate about is obviously helping with like affiliates. Like, I know you have a group of amazing people, right? So I wanted to help your people, instead of just random, right? And I'm in the Tony Robbins Platinum world, and majority of our clients are Tony Robbins Platinum.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy helping the people that, that it's very aligned in values, because, we only live once and life is short, and I wanted to really make an impact to the right people.
Yeah.
So affiliate marketing is definitely like one of the big piece that, I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look at business operations, like how is your business structured? Like what are you doing, and how do you actually organize your business?
Yeah. So at the very beginning, again, just like everybody else, you just try and error. It works stick, right? It works stick. And I recently just paid, I think like $50K to learn like EOS, the entrepreneurial way, because I started recognizing, okay, a lot of people talking about it. So we got a coach coming in, and so now we're doing the entrepreneurial way, which is, I'm the visionary. I have like a million ideas, and I have an integrator, which is also a virtual assistant.
Yep.
Just so in case if people say, oh, who you hire? Again, it's still a virtual assistant. That's because that's what I believe. So integrator, and then, and then we go wide, and we have, again, all virtual assistant. I have my customer service department, accounting, recruiting department.
So you have no U.S. based employees?
I only have one,
okay.
But she's not U.S. She's my cousin.
Oh, yeah. But she's not U.S. based.
No, she's all over the world. She's a nomad. So
digital nomad.
Yeah, okay. yeah. She just loves talking to people. So if you schedule an appointment, you most likely are going to talk to her, and she loved traveling the world. She was the one that threw me the 4-Hour Work Week and E-Myth. Okay. She's like, if you
E-Myth was a great book. 4-Hour Work Week is awesome too.
Yeah. Just like, if you do not master this, nobody's ever going to work with you, and you'll be broke and tired and stressed out and bye.
She changed your life.
Yeah.
Because you've dramatically implemented.
Yep.
And that I find, like, if you look at the measures of success, the things that actually are those key ingredients, implementation is like at the top of the list.
Yep.
You learn something, and that's what I'm very impressed by a lot of stuff that you do. But what I notice is like for instance, when we're at masterminds together, you'll hear something being said, and then like 2 minutes later, I see you implementing it. Like I'm like, how do you get that speed? Like how do you do that?
I think just practice.
Okay.
I think it's just practice, just like everybody else. And again, if it's proximity, right? I'm with a group of people that's highly, executing. So to me, it's like it's normal.
Yeah.
Right. But if I get out of my bubble, it's not normal.
It's definitely not normal for most business owners.
Yeah.
Because most business owners don't implement at all, right?
Yeah.
They just do the rote stuff, the stuff that has gotten them to where they want to be, where they were, right?
Yeah.
And then they complain that why they're not here, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can't keep doing the same stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it's a crazy cycle, right? You don't expect to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Just not going to happen. But my secret sauce is I just push it down to my VA. Hey, we love this funnel. Here's the link. Copy it, model it, study it. Right, and then we'll have a study group, study session afterwards.
So you have VAs that are doing your funnel building.
Yeah.
You have VAs that are doing your copywriting.
Yep.
You have VAs that are doing your operations.
Yep.
Your implementation.
Yep.
You have VAs who are doing like homeschooling. Like
Yep.
you have VAs across the board. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. When you look at your typical customer now, not necessarily your team, but your customer, like, how do you typically introduce them to what it is that you're doing? What's your methodology for that?
So usually we'll just do a webinar, or usually I go to a lot of events, and then the people just ask me, what do I do? Or some people say, oh, that's Phyllis, you're busy, you're overwhelmed, go talk to Phyllis. Phyllis is the queen of VA. And then that's usually how, and so when people come to me, they kind of already knew what is going on.
Okay.
And I just kind of educate them on, the best practices, and like, this is why you do it, and this is how I do it. And then people get really impressed and excited, and they want to execute, and then they just come into my world.
When you look at things outside of business, because again, we talked about that in the past as well. Like, there are other things that motivate you.
Yep.
If money was no object, if businesses were running truly 100% without you, but obviously from your direction, like what do you think you'd spend your time doing?
I wanted to spend the time to allow people to feel seen, heard, and loved.
Okay.
I think, especially in the society now, there's just a lot of lack, there's a lot of like comparison. There's just a lot of like, injustice. And I think we started to live in a gray life. Like I felt like before 38 years old, I live in a gray life. I just do what other people tell me to do. I make sure that everybody else is happy. I serve other people and I forget about myself. I was like, I've been zombie for the 38 years.
Yeah.
What's going on? What happened? Like, I feel like I've woken up, and that's what I wanted to share with other people. It's like, hey, you have your life. You can enjoy it. You can, do whatever you want to do. Like I said, have the cake, eat it too, and still losing weight while doing it. And I think that's what I love. And I also love inspiring people to start their business and, run it to 7 figures. Like, how do you put all these things in place so that, it can run to 7 figures and you still spend the exact same amount of time as if when you first started? It's just the quality of the project and the thoughts is different now, right?
Wow. I'm inspired. I know the audience is inspired too. Like, what would be the best way for someone to be able to connect with you if they want to learn more about what you're doing? Like, how do they reach out?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just my name, Phyllis, like Phyllis, Song, SONG.com. That's
Okay.
my website, and you can find me on social media. I'm still working on my social media, not like Edward,
You got to get a VA on it.
I know. I have. I actually get my VA schedule a call.
Uh-huh.
So I have a 3-hour block, and my VA will sit there and say, boss, it's time for you to do the recording. This is what you need to say. Boss, you're doing a great job. All right, pause right now. Smile a little, hype up a little, drink some water. Okay, let's do it again. I got a VA for everything.
I love it. Well, Phyllis, I appreciate you dedicating so much of your time today, sharing so genuinely, so authentically. I'm looking forward to watching and being at least present while you are continuing to do amazing things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending some time. And I cannot wait to get into our members only podcast in just a few moments. Now, for all of you who have enjoyed your time here today, I know you're going to want to make sure that you make an outreach, connect with this amazing woman. She is indeed the queen of VAs. That's another episode of Entrepreneur Unleashed. I'm Edward Collins, and I can't wait to see you next time. Be well. Bye for now. Phyllis, thank you so much.